Hitler is dead, again, but his zombie army are bigger, meaner and uglier than ever before. How will you take them down? Well, fear not, I, SMK Gaming, have broken into Hitler's hidden vaults and discovered a secret weapon to take down his armies. These secret settings will help destroy the enemy and hit testicle shot after testicle shot, so stick around folks. Oof, that's nasty. I hope you're doing good today folks. I'm sure you're doing better than that zombie is anyway. But before we get into any great detail with this video, I firstly want to thank Rob, a community manager from Rebellion, who gave me the opportunity to show you off some content before it releases on the 4th of February. Really appreciate it, fella. Thank you very much. Keeping in line with the theme of my channel, which is helping players become better, I'm going to do a settings video. When a new game comes out, one of the first things players look at is how do they optimize their settings, how can they improve their settings. Well, I'm going to show you what my settings are, but not just that. I'm also going to explain why I have them like this. They really do make a huge difference in the game. Let's get started. First up on the game options are tutorials. I turn these off. I've been playing games like these often enough to know by now what is what. If you aren't sure, then keep them on and then you could always turn them off later on. With empty lung zoom, I like this on. What does this do? Well, shown on screen now, it gives you additional zoom when you press the button to give you more control over your shot. It's like you're holding your breath in some games to try and slow down the game. When it is off, you still get the game slowing down for you, but that zoom is no longer there. I like that little bit of extra zoom, so I keep it on. Allow photo mode shortcut I have off, just in case I press both sticks down by accident when playing. Sometimes I can be a little bit heavy-handed and I'm in the game and I don't want to be pressing down L3 and R3 at the same time. I won't ever use the photo mode, but if you're the kind of person that likes to take screenshots in game, well, keep this on because you can very handy then just press down that shortcut and you can start taking photos in game. Moving on, I also like the scoreboard on the HUD, so I leave that on also. Regarding the bullet kill cameras now, I've changed these options from default. Firstly, I set the camera on reduce. On normal, it was happening too often for me, for things like leg shots, etc. I have also removed the co-op bullet cameras also, as this will show your teammates shots from time to time. Now, I like the bullet cameras, it's hallmark of Rebellion games, but I want it to feel cool and special when I get them, and that won't be the case if I'm getting these every 6 or 7 shots, and that is what was happening when I had it on normal. I was getting these cinematics very often, a bit too often for my liking, so I've put it on reduce to reduce basically the occurrence of these happening. Next up, the controls. Now firstly, I am going to mention controls are quite a personal thing, and again it is the thing that most people struggle with. But here are mine and I will try to explain the best I can as why I have mine set to these. Firstly, I've left auto reload on. What does it do? Well, it should be pretty clear from the explanation. When you run out of bullets, it automatically starts the reload for you without you needing to press the button manually. I do not like to invert my controls, so those are off, as is the vibration function. I turn off vibration in pretty much all my games. I can feel it sometimes be a bit off-putting in shooter games. I wouldn't mind it in games where you're like driving in cars and stuff, but in shooter games I personally like to turn all these off. Next, I turned on enable scope range adjustment. If you are playing the game on a higher difficulty level, I recommend turning this on. Shown here is me adjusting it based on how far I perceive the enemies to be. As long as you are pretty decent at estimating the distance, you should find this beneficial. It means you do not have to aim way above your enemies' heads and trying to account for bullet drop yourself. You know, if you didn't have this feature turned on and an enemy is quite far away, you're going to have to try and aim quite far above their head to get, you know, a headshot or a chest shot. The game has various aim assist options, and firstly I'm going to explain what they do, not just say what mine are, because I feel it's important that you have an understanding of what each of these options do in game. So, sensitivity reduction slows your crosshair when you hover over or near a target to try and keep you on that enemy. Shown here is it set at strong. Notice how my movement across the screen is not constant and it seems to stick and slow down at various places. Yep, those places are when I'm hovering over the enemies. That is the purpose of this aim assist. I personally find strong too much and therefore I have it on moderate. If you're not familiar with these games and you're not familiar with first person shooters, well, it's not a first person shooter, sorry, it's a third person shooter, but if you're not familiar with shooter games, just leave it on strong. But you may find that it may become a bit annoying after a while once you get used to the game. But sure, set it on strong. If you don't like it, reduce it. The snap to target aim assist is a toggle on or off, so you don't have options with it. You either have it on or you have it off. I choose to have it off. Why? Well, because I don't want the game doing the aiming for me. And that's what it kind of does. Shown here, notice how my crosshair is not on the target. But when I aim down sight, it snaps to the nearest enemy. I'm not going to lie, it feels pretty strong. You seem to snap to targets that, are quite far away from your crosshair. Here's what happens when you do not have the snap aim assist turned on. You aim down sight, but it doesn't snap. It stays exactly where it was. And that's how I like to play the game. The game also supports native mouse and keyboard. And if you wanted to, you could also enable the aim assist for that also, it seems. Personally, I have no idea why you'd want to do that. You don't need aim assist when you're using a mouse. Backing out of these aim assist options and into the controller sensitivity options, I put pretty much everything on max. I am a high sensitivity player in all shooter games I play. I like to be able to look around me quickly so that I can react easier, and especially when in hip fire. If you like this, then adjust your camera sensitivity. Shown here, when you increase the camera sensitivity, that's increasing your hip fire sensitivity. You will be able to look left and right as well as up and down faster. Next up is the shoulder aim sensitivity. At 100% this still feels quite slow to me, but it doesn't ruin my experience, which is the main thing. When you aim down sight and move left and right as well as up and down, that is a sensitivity that is affected with the shoulder aim sensitivity. The final option is for scoped weapons. As before, it affects how fast you can move across your screen as well as up and down when you're scoped in. I do not recommend you using my settings here unless you're also a high sensitivity player. Play around with them a bit because the sensitivity from the camera as well as the shoulder aim and the scoped weapons, all the sensitivities feel very different at 100%, and that is likely due to the differences in the field of view. So because when you're in hip fire you can see more around you, when you're aiming over the shoulder you can see less, and then when you're scoped in you can see even less again. So I'm guessing that's the reason behind it. They feel different, just keep that in mind. The rest of the settings below are all default. Most are related to using a mouse and keyboard, which, as I previously mentioned, I won't be using. The controller layout scheme is the game default. I haven't changed those at all. Now on to the display settings. The brightness will be entirely up to what your display is. This will be vastly different for everyone. Very few people will be the same. Some will have it quite high, some will have it quite low. But the next two options are very important, and I'm so glad they included both of these. Folks, turn off motion blur and set the graphics mode to performance. The game looks so much better. Look at the game set with motion blur on and the mode set to quality. The quality should improve the resolution of the game. But look at the background. Look at how blurry it is moving around. It looks better when you're standing still, but why would you be standing still? Here's some action with these settings also. The game felt quite slow and the acquiring targets wasn't as fluid as the settings I recommend. Now look at the motion blur off and it's set to performance. Look at how much better it looks. The reason for this isn't just because the motion blur is turned off. With the graphics mode set to performance, the frame rate is also higher. It's closer to 60 frames per second on console, compared to the 30 frames per second with the graphics mode enabled. Moving around it felt great, and acquiring targets also felt much better. Here is a side-by-side comparison. Honestly folks, if you want the best experience, have it set to this. Now the audio. My master audio remains at 100%, but I have reduced the music to better hear enemies and teammates when I play with them. I have also the SFX to max from 70% to also hear enemies better. The SFX is the in-game noise, so footsteps, the noises of enemies, you should hear those better with this higher up. Voice lines is the chatter from NPCs in game. I set this to medium as I do not want to hear constant random chatter from these characters in the game. I also use headphones, so I have set the audio output to that. With accessibility, I've also changed this around a bit also. When I stream, the quality of my streams obviously isn't going to be as good as the quality of my videos, so it can be harder to see text on screen when it's, not as clear. So I've made the text larger, but I have also added a box to the text to make it stand out more. If you have problems reading small text, that option to increase it and make it more visible is there for you also. Just a warning before I go, folks, don't spend too long in the settings options. The zombies start to taunt you through the controller.
Where did you go? Come back.
And that's it, folks. I hope this video helps you out. Get out there and destroy those zombie hordes. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy, please like, share and subscribe. See you all again in the next video. Thank you for watching.